time to be the GOAT. It's time to enter God mode, man, let's get it going. I wanna be the greatest, energy is overflowing. I know I'm stoking the fire, my desire's taking over, not time.
Okay, you beautiful friends, welcome back to the back of the semi-truck, and you could tell by the thumbnail, you could tell by the title, we are jumping into our part 2 of learning the lore of the story that is Five Nights at Freddy's. And where we last left off, we were now in the part where they're making the whole thing of, you know, Freddy Fazbear, no, not that. I can't remember what the whole Chuck E. Cheese knockoff place was called, honestly. It'll come back to me once we hit play. But we were at the point where now we're going to recreate all of this down in a basement area type thing. So, yes, we're going to hear a little bit of that here at the beginning, just to kind of make it where I could transition into, you know, the rest of the thing, because it's hard to find a transition spot where we could just stop these things sometimes. So this whole video that we're watching is total an hour long. So what I did was cut it up into 3 parts, roughly 19-20 minutes apiece, and this one's about 20 minutes, and it's hard to know where to cut these things. So that's what we did. Now we're about to jump into part 2 though. So yeah, this is the middle of the video, and as per usual, if you are staying around listening to this opening monologue here, if you want to watch this video that we're watching so you got full context, go ahead. It's down in the description and the pinned comment as well. So you'll have a link to this specific video as well as a link to their channel. Who's doing this is honestly, I can't remember. I hate saying it that way, but I just can't remember. But I will get the links. It will be provided. Fun Fried? I can't remember. It'll come back to me. Let's just start this instead of sitting here talking about that. Let's start this. 3, 2, 1, and play.
In order to do this, Afton didn't take any chances. He needed to replicate exactly what his son went through every day. In order to do this, Afton built a replica of his house underground, along with his son's daily walk to Fredbear's family diner. He also built a makeshift bedroom where he could force kids to have the same nightmare every night. Afton would sit in his office watching them on the cameras that could be accessed using the passcode 1983, the year his son got bit. He also kept the crying child's Fredbear plushie on the desk as a reminder of what he was trying to replicate. In the makeshift bedroom, there were dummy animatronics that wheeled down the hallway. But the kids wouldn't see them as just blank dummies on wheels. Afton would pump hallucinogenic gas into the room to get the kids to think that what they were seeing was a monster. These
Pause already. Holy crap. Okay, so first and foremost, in the comments of the first part that we did, I said something, well, in the video, I said something about, hey, this is not a children's game. I'm well aware now, thanks to the comments in the last video, that this wasn't even meant to be a kid's game in the beginning. This was, kids just for some reason happened to find it, and lo and behold, kids like it, and parents let their kids play it. And here we are with another example. Parents, this is not a kid's game. This guy here is maniacal. He is pumping people full of hallucinogens, making them think they're seeing monsters. Holy crap, this would be terrifying if it happened in real life. If it's a game, okay, you might get a jump scare, but let's be real, it ain't that terrifying. But, good gosh, it's not a kid's game. Oh, and then the books. In the comments of the last video, they gave examples of some of the stories. Holy crap. I might actually have to do something about, like, going over one of those books, too. That would be just crazy, because I heard about an animatronic getting pregnant, and it was crazy. Let's continue.
Nightmare gas canisters were being stored all throughout his underground facility, and on the bed of this makeshift bedroom was a Freddy plushie, in the hopes that the kids would pour their fear and agony into the plush, like his son did to his plushie. On the other side of the bunker where Afton recreated the crying child's walk to Fredbear's, he placed a bunch of Fredbear plushies all over the place. These Fredbear plushies had walkie-talkies inside of them. This was Afton's way of recreating his son's imaginary friend that would talk to him wherever he went. Afton would speak to the kids through his walkie-talkie sitting in his private office. After setting up the bunker, Afton was only missing one more thing: the kids to run these experiments on. He needed a way to kidnap and capture kids without being caught, and he had the perfect way to do it.
The show will begin momentarily. Everyone, please stay in your seats.
Enter Circus Baby and the Funtime animatronics. These robots...
Pause. Oh, gosh. Now, we got a new one? Circus Baby? I was searching up, like 30 minutes of circus music. This is one of the things that popped up was circus music for Five Nights at Freddy. And no, I'm not going to go into details on, why I needed circus music. It's for a secondary channel that I know for sure y'all do not care about. But this was one of the things that popped up was circus music because of Circus Baby? That's okay. Well, we still got Fredbear back there to the left, and he's holding a puppet, which I think it was Bonnie Bunny. I know it was something, but then we also have two more back there. I've seen the one on the right. Not familiar with the name. I'm horrible with names, by the way. But I've seen the one on the right. But this one's new. I don't remember ever seeing Circus Baby, or whatever they call her. Either way, now that makes sense as to why I got 30 minutes to an hour loop of whatever their music is. So... okay, let's continue.
Robots were specifically built by Afton to capture kids, featuring Circus Baby, Funtime Freddy, Funtime Foxy, and Ballora. They feature advanced technologies such as parental tracking, voice mimicking / luring, and storage tanks. Circus Baby, the star of the group, was even able to make ice cream as a way to lure kids to her. Once the kid got too close, a giant claw would reach out, grab them, and lock them in the animatronic's storage tank. Some of the board members from Fazbear Entertainment were suspicious of these new animatronics.
She can dance. She can sing. She's equipped with a built-in helium tank for inflating balloons right at her fingertips. She can take song requests. She can even dispense ice cream.
With all due respect, those aren't the design choices we were curious about, Mr. Afton.
Afton even created a new restaurant for these animatronics called Circus Baby's PizzaWorld. Elizabeth, William Afton's daughter, was fascinated by Circus Baby. All she wanted to do was play with her, but Afton wouldn't let her.
Daddy, why won't you let me play with her? You let the other children go see her. Why won't you let me go?
Because it's creepy. They've got a design in there big enough to store you. It's creepy. That's why you can't go play with her. Let's play.
He strictly told her to stay away from the animatronic, but one day, she didn't listen. On the opening day of Circus Baby's PizzaWorld, another domino would fall in Afton's life, and Elizabeth would soon be the victim of his terrible misdeeds.
I can do something special. Did you know that? I can make ice cream. Although I only did it once. What a wonderful day, though. I was in a small room with balloons and a few tables. I would always count the children. I'm not sure why. They usually played together in groups of 2 or 3. There were 4, then 3, then 2, then 1. Time to play.
It got her. But what I feel like is happening there is the robot's kind of getting a little bit of sentience to it. Like, she's wanting to play with these children, but her programming is making it where she's kidnapping them. And it's like, I once made some ice cream for a kid, but then they disappeared, and then it went down to 4 children, then 3, then 2, then 1. And it's like she wants to play with them. It feels like she's becoming sentient. So I don't know. I don't know. The clown one's a little bit creepy. So I can't think of nothing else to add there. So let's continue this. Play.
Something happened when there was one. I was no longer myself. There was screaming for a moment, but only for a moment.
In an instant, Elizabeth was grabbed by Circus Baby and thrown into her stomach hatch. The sheer force of her being grabbed and thrown into the robot's storage tank was enough to kill her almost instantly. This is something that William wasn't able to test. That was until his daughter became the test. William Afton now lost another one of his kids, but this time it was all his fault. After just one day of being open, Circus Baby's PizzaWorld was shut down. Afton covered up the incident by telling the public that the restaurant shut down due to gas leaks. But not everyone bought that story. The local newspaper wrote about the incident, saying, in other news, the grand opening of Circus Baby's PizzaWorld has apparently been canceled due to reported gas leaks in the building. Sources close to the establishment questioned the report, saying that strange activity around the area at night suggests something else is to blame. One local is quoted as saying, everything just stopped. There was so much excitement built around this place opening, and then they just stopped talking about it. A tenant from across the street claims to have witnessed a large group of cars surrounding the building during the night, and large pieces of equipment being taken out of the building under tarps. A few weeks later, the building was for sale. There is no comment yet from the local entrepreneur who financed the venture.
Pause. Okay, so obvious reasons why there was tarps, because they had to kind of cover up some stuff there. But now I'm kind of getting scared for Michael's well-being. If I'm correct, that's, the crying, child's brother. Slash his son. I'm kind of getting a little scared for his well-being, because we've already had the crying child die. We've now had his daughter die. So that leaves only one child left. So hence the reason why I'm kind of getting a little like, okay, we're gonna have to calm down on your little experiments here, my dude. So you might want to slow your roll when you're trying to figure all this stuff out, and just stop before you get rid of everyone you love in your life. it boggles my mind. I don't, as much as Michael, what he did, yes, to the crying child, since we don't have a name, and I'm told nobody's had a name for him for a decade now. I don't like what Michael and his friends did, but at the same time, they never expected what happened to happen. So I feel bad for him, definitely. Let's continue.
That local entrepreneur, William Afton, successfully covered up everything. He was able to bring Circus Baby and the Funtime animatronics back down into his bunker. But once he got them there, he noticed something was different about Circus Baby. One distinct feature about Circus Baby was her blue eyes. But what once was blue eyes now were green, the same color as Elizabeth's. In that moment, he knew that his daughter's soul attached itself to the robot. Her soul lived on in Circus Baby. Afton knew that the way Charlie went on to possess the puppet was sloppy, and it was hard to recreate without getting caught. But what if the kids' bodies were hidden where no one would ever look? What if, just like his daughter, their bodies were stuffed into the animatronics? For Afton, Elizabeth's death quickly went from just another inconvenience to a scientific breakthrough. Afton was one step closer to harnessing the power of life itself. But one successful experiment wasn't enough. Just like the fear experiments he built in the bunker, he needed to replicate exactly what happened. He needed to recreate the accident, and he knew exactly how he was going to do it. Using the Funtime animatronics again wasn't an option. Circus Baby's Pizza World was shut down, and the public was already getting too suspicious of the animatronic.
False. Okay, so that means, I know I'm pausing and getting ahead of them, but that means, obviously, they're going to, or he's going to create more animatronics and create a whole new scenario, and hopefully, because this guy does not care about his children that much, obviously, or he would be a little sad. That means now Michael's probably going to be the next victim, but since we have a name for Michael, then again we had a name for the daughter. So I don't know. I don't know who his next victim is going to be. So let's find out. Play.
But he didn't need the Funtime animatronics. He was going to run the experiment himself. On June 26, 1985, William Afton made his way to Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. There, he would put on the old spring Bonnie suit from Fredbear's to lure 5 kids into the back room.
Took a swim with my new friend. Didn't care, I jumped right.
Hello. Looking for a friend?
He said, the water's clear, come swim with me.
Pause. So, yeah, this scene isn't creepy at all. Yeah, hopefully y'all can catch a little bit of, sarcasm there. I mean, it's definitely creepy to me with an animatronic holding a little bear or stuffed animal like that, trying to lure a kid in. Yeah, holy crap. Very creepy. My goodness.
One by one, Afton killed them and stuffed their bodies into the animatronics. Susie was first, being stuffed into Chica. Gabriel went into Freddy, Jeremy into Bonnie, Fritz into Foxy, and then there was Cassidy, who went into Fredbear, aka Golden Freddy. At this point, Afton had no idea that the crying child spirit was in Golden Freddy, so he didn't think twice about shoving Cassidy in there. The way Afton killed Cassidy, though, was different from the rest. Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy were just regular animatronics. Afton had no choice but to kill them, then stuff them into the suits. But Golden Freddy wasn't just a regular animatronic, it was a Springlock suit. The same Springlock suit that took his youngest son's life. Afton was aware of how dangerous the Springlocks were. Any bit of moisture or too much movement would cause them to snap shut, slowly killing whoever was inside. So that's exactly what he did to Cassidy. He put him into the suit and watched as the Springlocks snapped shut, cementing Cassidy's death as the most brutal of them all. Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, Foxy, and Golden Freddy weren't the only animatronics sitting in the back room of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza.
Pause. So I am, well, right now, just from that incident, that's 5 children. Oh my gosh. And I don't know how many children we've had killed so far. This is a little bit like, okay, we had the crying child, then we had the daughter, then we had, what, 3 or 4 others during that experiment of the whole hallucinogen, if I got the word hallucinogen out of my mouth correctly just then. Then we had like 3 or 4 of them, so that's like 5 right there, and then we got 5 here. We got like 10 kids that have died here, and one of them brutally. I don't know how there's even a movie about this. Granted, yeah, I know the movie's rated R, and they could show some brutality, but that one there, how are they going to show children getting killed like this? This is a little bit nutty. Considering it's a spring lock suit, he had to put the kid in the spring lock suit and then put water on it for it to just snap and crush. I don't want to see that. These are children. I don't even want to think about it. Thankfully, they're fictional children, and it's like, okay, they're fictional. It's not that big a deal. But it's like, jeez, this is brutal. Let's continue.
Though. They were joined by the security puppet, which contained the soul of Henry's daughter Charlie. Once Afton was gone, Charlie jumped into action, almost acting as a guide for their souls, properly giving them life inside of each animatronic. After the incident, the kids were quickly reported missing by their families, and although the security cameras caught Afton luring the kids away, he wasn't able to fully get in trouble. Since he was wearing the Spring Bonnie suit, they were never able to prove it was actually him. Afton also hid the kids' bodies where no one would ever look, so the bodies were never found. Unbelievably, Afton was able to get away with yet another crime. Because of all the bad press that came from the missing children's incident,
yet another crime? That's like 5 homicides. That's more than one crime. That's more than yet another crime. This is a fictional world, so I've got to kind of suspend a little bit of disbelief and understand that it's not gonna, yeah, it's gonna be a little, he's gonna be able to get away with a lot of stuff. Let's continue.
people stopped coming to the pizzeria. After months of customers no longer showing up, Fazbear Entertainment officially shut down Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Shortly after the pizzeria shut down, Afton decided to pull the Funtime animatronics out of retirement and finally get his underground facility fully operational. He knew he couldn't try opening another Circus Babies restaurant, so he had a new idea.
Due to the massive success and even more so the unfortunate closing of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, it was clear that the stage was set, no pun intended, for another contender in children's entertainment. Unlike most entertainment venues, our robotic entertainers are rented out for private parties during the day.
Afton opened Circus Babies Entertainment and Rental. This way, he could rent out the Funtime animatronics to local birthday parties, capture kids, and bring them back to his underground bunker to be
Pause. Okay. I know it's a fictional world. It's hard to suspend, my, logic here a little bit, considering, okay, Circus Baby rental and entertainment thing. Okay. If he continues to rent them out and kids happen to go missing conveniently while his little costumes are being rented out specifically to certain places, missing children going missing while those things are around should end up having the cops where they're kind of like, hey, let's put 2 and 2 together and just, this is what's happening. This guy's been pretty suspicious this whole time, but whatever. Whatever. Let's continue.
Experimented on. While Afton was running his rental business, Fazbear Entertainment was determined to try opening another pizzeria. In the summer of 1987, Fazbear Entertainment opened the new and improved Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, this time with brand new versions of their original characters. These were called the Toy Animatronics, and they were once again built by Henry. Henry was aware of what happened in 1985, and especially of what happened to his daughter, so he was determined to make sure that never happened again. These new toy animatronics were equipped with facial recognition systems that were linked directly to a criminal database. The security puppet was also brought out of retirement, but instead of working security, it sat quietly in the prize corner. Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, Foxy, Golden Freddy, and Spring Bonnie were also moved to the new pizzeria, and it's revealed that these animatronics were mostly used for spare parts.
By now, I'm sure you've noticed the older models sitting in the back room. Those are from the previous location, and we just use them for parts now. The idea at first was to repair them, but they were just so ugly, you know? And the smell.
This means that the haunted metal of the original Freddy's animatronics was now being put into the toy animatronics, causing the toys to also now be possessed. After Afton got away with the first set of murders, he needed to see if the kids' spirits were possessing the animatronics. In order to see for himself, Afton went back to work at the new pizzeria as a daytime security guard. While Afton was working the day shift, Jeremy Fitzgerald was working the night shift. Jeremy worked there for 5 nights, and unfortunately for him, because the kids possessing the animatronics were killed by an adult, they were extremely aggressive to any adult they encountered.
They interact with the kids just fine, but when they encounter an adult, they just stare.
Meanwhile, Afton decided to pull the same trick he did at the old Freddy's location, gaining 5 more victims.
Someone used one of the suits. We had a spare in the back, a yellow one. Someone used it.
Afton used the Spring Bonnie suit to pull the same stunt again on 5 more.
Pause again. 5 more children. Okay, 5 more freaking children. That's like 15 to, I don't know, 15, I'm gonna say 15 to 17 children in this series. And I'm a little over half the video done. Not halfway finished with this one. But I'm the full 60-minute overview of the storyline, I'm a little over halfway through with it. And that's already 15 to 17 different children that have been just bloop, done. So, and yes, I have a feeling that if I'm not careful, this video might become age restricted with the amount that I'm talking about children getting killed, but it's Five Nights at Freddy, so maybe they won't like age restrict it. If they do, then I'll just put in the appeal and say, hey, you know, look, it's Five Nights at Freddy. Kids are playing this freaking thing. Let's continue.
Kids. But as he was committing the murders, Charlie from inside the puppet was actively trying to save the kids. She tried enlisting the help of the other animatronics, but it was too late. Afton had already finished what he started. Not only that, him seeing the puppet and Freddy walking around the pizzeria trying to stop him was all the proof he needed that his experiments were successful. The kids he put into the original suits were haunting the animatronics. But there was one problem. Afton knew that the haunted metal of the endoskeletons was the key to everything, but the animatronics were trapped at the pizzeria. There was no way he could bring them back to his underground bunker. He couldn't get to the animatronics if the pizzeria was still open and active, so he needed to find a way to make sure the pizzeria shuts down and fast. Instead of stuffing the new set of victims into the toy animatronics, he decided to leave the kids out in plain sight, scattered throughout the pizzeria. This was a guaranteed way to get the pizzeria shut down. A few hours after Afton committed the murders, Jeremy Fitzgerald showed up for his night shift, unaware of what happened that day.
Hello. What on earth are you doing there? Didn't you get the memo? The place is closed down, at least for a while. Listen, just finish your shift. It's safer than trying to leave in the middle of the night. We have one more event scheduled for tomorrow, a birthday. You'll be on day shift. Wear your uniform. Stay close to the animatronics and make sure they don't hurt anyone, okay?
The next day, during Jeremy's day shift, one of the animatronics bit him in the head. This was infamously known as the Bite of 87. Meanwhile, Afton successfully got the pizzeria shut down. The local newspaper wrote about the incident, saying, after being open only a few short weeks, Freddy Fazbear's Pizza is closing its doors. The new animatronics will be scrapped due to possible malfunctions. However, the original characters are being kept in hopes of a possible reorganization of...
Pause. Okay, so if this was the real world, I don't think y'all would have had This is like the third time that it's been opened. It's getting. I don't think in the real world that it would have this many freaking chances. It's freaking crazy. It bewilders me that I don't know. I gotta suspend the logic of the real world for this fictional world. It's, hey, hey, things happen. We're gonna reorganize and we're gonna get this technology right. Yeah. Okay, so let's reopen a fourth time. Hopefully, no children will get killed again. Let's play.
Company. Since the toy animatronics were now being scrapped, he knew he could get away with taking their endoskeletons. But he also knew that he couldn't risk showing his face at the pizzeria again, so he got his oldest son Michael to do the work for him. William was easily able to get Michael to do whatever he wanted. William was abusive and manipulative, while Michael was haunted by the guilt of what he did to his younger brother. Because of this, Michael basically acted as William's puppet. Michael showed up for the night shift at the now closed Freddy Fazbear's Pizza under a code name, Fritz Smith. At the end of his shift, he would successfully steal the toy animatronics endoskeletons for his father, causing him to get fired his first day on the job due to tampering with the animatronics. As it said in the local newspaper, while Fazbear Entertainment scrapped the toy animatronics, the original Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy were going to be fixed up and reused. And that's exactly what they did. After the 1987 Freddy's location shut down, they opened yet another location, this time using the exact same building as the first Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. As you can imagine, this didn't work out great for the business. People already had a bad impression of Fazbear Entertainment, so using the same building that the original murders took place in didn't help business. Customers barely showed up to the new pizzeria, leading it to shut down by the end of 1993. Although this was bad news for Fazbear Entertainment, this was great news for William Afton. Afton was able to acquire the endos of the
Files. Okay, so fourth time wasn't the charm. Maybe the fifth time will be the charm because, of course, they're going to try to reopen yet again, probably at least. But, Afton's going to get these ectoskeletons or exoskeletons or whatever and just run his little experiments. I get that his child died, but holy crap, he's going freaking insane. Let's continue.
Toy animatronics, but that wasn't enough. He needed all of the haunted endoskeletons, especially the ones in the original animatronics. Once the pizzeria shut down, Afton came up with the plan to steal the endos from the animatronics. Each pizzeria was designed with something called a safe room.
As always, if there is ever an emergency, please go to the designated safe room. Every location is built with one extra room that is not included in the digital map layouts programmed into the animatronics or security system. This room is hidden to customers, invisible to animatronics, and is always off camera.
This room was hidden from guests and invisible to the animatronics. Afton would use this to his advantage, luring each of the animatronics to the safe room and dismantling them one by one. The kids possessing these animatronics were the same kids he lured into the back room all those years ago. He planned to use the same trick to lure the same kids all over again. Once he finished dismantling each animatronic and stealing their endoskeleton, he brought them down to his
Halls. Oh my gosh. Okay, so these kids have been through hell with this man. Holy crap. So he lures them in and initially kills them physical form, but now yeah, and then on top of that, their old, they're haunting, these little, ectoskeleton thingamajiggies or whatever they're calling them. They're haunting that, but then they were also used for spare parts for the new ones. And so that means they're kind of here and there and everywhere. They're feeling broken up and all this stuff. And then now he does it to them again and now steals the ectoskeletons again. It's just, oh my gosh, the amount of torture even after dying these kids are going through is crazy. But this is where, he's going to take them down to the basement and this and that. We've got like a minute and a half left on where I cut it out. So I'm more than likely going to let this just play the rest of the way through. Because if I remember correctly where I kind of cut it, I think it was kind of like on a cutscene. So it's going to kind of, and then on the next, part 3 that we do of this, I'm going to kind of rewatch that cutscene to kind of refresh myself as well. So let's let this play out and see what happens.
where he would melt them all down into one liquid substance called remnant. Not only did Afton rob these kids of their lives, he would use their souls long after they're gone for his own personal gain.
Before that starts, yes, I paused it already. Okay, before that starts, he melted it, all the metal down. So now their 4 souls are kind of just intertwined together. And is he going to, what? I'm a little flabbergasted. So let's just let this 1 minute play out, and I'll just give my afterthoughts, and I don't know what I'm gonna do after that. I might try to do some spray painting or something. And yes, that's a bit random, but I've got a reason for all the spray paint. Let's continue and play. And what a note to end on. Okay, so pretty much in a nutshell, that final scene that we just watched with him melting all these skeletons down, he literally, oh my gosh. I feel like that was a good spot to end on because it kind of gives a cliffhanger for me to then be like, okay, so he's melted all these skeletons down, so what's he going to do next? Is he going to put them all in one, where's he going to put all these? Because now they're all going to be molten metal. Are they going to be all kind of intertwined together? What's happening here? Because I have no clue. There's just, then on top of that, his son's soul as well is going to now be intertwined in there. It's just, it's crazy. That's just a crazy thought to even think about. The idea that now they're going to just be all melted together. And what honestly popped up in my head as we were watching them, in the incinerator was I was like, you know what? This is how Toy Story 4, Toy Story, was it 4? No, no, it was 3. This is how Toy Story 3 would have ended if they were actually incinerated at the end of that movie, with them just looking up the same way these metal skeletons were just looking up. And it's weird, but you can see with their mouth open that even though they're metal skeletons, you could still see that they were kind of in pain and tortured and just all kinds of holy crap. I'm trying to figure out as well how this guy, nobody's figured out that he's the one behind all of these missing children. That's kind of just bewilderingly crazy to me, is that all of this stuff can happen, but with this one man just keeps getting away somehow. I don't know. Either way, though, it's a wild. That was kind of a wild ending. So I don't know where we're gonna go from here on the story, because it's a little bit too complex for me to even grasp where they're gonna go with it. Because is he gonna figure out a way to kind of separate the souls? Is he going to just kind of just be like, whatever, we're gonna put the metal in all of them, and then all 5 of them are gonna be intertwined into 5 different robots or 3 different robots or whatever? I mean, I don't know how we're going to work the story from here. So, with that said, I think I am done, because I am flat out tired. It is almost 9 o'clock for me where I am. Let's actually be truthful about that. It is 8:30 p.m., give or take a few minutes here and there, but I'm still exhausted nonetheless. And tomorrow, as of recording, it is going to be Friday for me. Tonight is Thursday evening, which means I will be pushing hard and running a ton of miles in order to make it home to my wife. Because if it is one thing I do, is not wanting to be out on a Friday night. I want to be home with the wife, relaxing, doing what we do. That's what I want. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I want my weekend with the wife. So Fridays is nothing but about running. So I'm going to get me some good sleep. I'm going to call her before I go to bed. We're going to do our normal little falling asleep on the phone sort of thing. And just, yeah, that pretty much sums up what the rest of my night's going to be like. So, with all that said, y'all know the drill by now. Hit that like, tickle to subscribe if you're new. Don't be texting and driving. And as Mr. Rogers always says,
I like you just the way you are.